welcome to the Dyslexia Life Hack Show. I'm your host, Matthew Head. And for this final episode of 2024, I'm taking a break from my normal interview format, and you get to listen to just me talk for a little while. So I've got a coffee in hand, and I hope you have too. I'm going to talk about how my year's been and some of the changes I've made, in particular with just feeling less tired and not working myself so hard, because it was something I realised in the summer I was probably burning myself out. For a bit of context, I think it would be useful to know how I juggle, particularly the podcast and work. So the podcast is something I record and until recently edited in the evenings or in the small hours of the morning around work. I would set up guest record normally at about a 6 o'clock in the evening slot, and I'd normally be editing on a Saturday or Sunday morning, if not in the evenings. I work a lot better in the mornings than I do in the evenings, so I'm far better. I can't really sleep in much past 7:30 in the morning, which I'm sure some of you are already cringing about. So I will get up at 7:30 and sit at the computer for an hour in my pajamas doing some editing, and then my partner, she tends to wake up a lot later in the day, so I can go and say hello to her in the morning as she's staring maybe an hour and a half later after me. And obviously, I do a full-time job, 40 hours a week. As I say, I work for Jaguar Land Rover. I work within their design division. I'm a lead engineer for anybody who doesn't know, working within creative, and we do all the concepts and prototypes, anything from basic clay models you might have seen to I can't believe it's not a real car. The major project we've had released this year is the concept car that Jaguar displayed at the beginning of December. I was part of the engineering team for that. We have a small engineering team, and me being one of the more senior engineers, had a lot of workload on some of the complicated assemblies, a lot of thought, a lot of going back and forth. And I tend to get passionate about a project and throw myself into it. I also have some hobbies, so I'm a little bit of sort of self-inflicted wound, maybe. I play guitar, which, to be honest, had saved me at the beginning of the year, which I do a lesson once a week and try and practice every evening. I also have taken up amateur dramatics over this year as well, so I tend to overpack my kind of week sometimes. There are some weeks where I've got stuff on all week. So let's have a look at how I sort of had started at the beginning of the year. I was performing in a pantomime, Red Riding Hood, which I played the benefactor of the orphanage that Red Riding Hood is keeping a captor, Squire Bullymore, who comes on and shouts at people a lot when he's on stage and tells Red Riding Hood she's never going to leave. And that was rehearsed up till sort of February when it was performed. I joined that quite late. My partner, she's the chairperson of the particular amateur dramatic society, and they had that character fall out. Now, I've never performed on stage before. Well, I have as a kid. And I'd seen this character played in another pantomime by another group and thought, well, I can probably stand in and do that. It helps that I'm over 6 foot tall and quite a big presence on stage, with the other people being a lot smaller. So the sort of bully type character is also the biggest presence on stage. It was kind of an interesting journey for me on that. You do 2 nights a week rehearsing, and then when it comes up to sort of show week, there's a few nights and then dress rehearsal, and then it was 4 performances, Friday night, 2 on Saturday, with a sort of mid-afternoon one on Sunday. Now, I said I've used to be part of, or did some acting before. I used to do a bit at school. I quite enjoyed it until I got cast as Charlie at the Chocolate Factory as... Oh, it'd been the final year of primary school, so what would I have been? A 10, 11? Playing Mr. Beauregard, which is Violet's father. Now, if you've ever seen the movie, he's in that. Now, I was terrible at reading lines. What I do is, if you got a script, I wouldn't want to read it in front of anybody. I'd go home and try and learn the lines, so I didn't have to rely on the script. It's actually something I do now as well. But at the time, what I do in auditions is read the lines at 300 mile an hour, well, basically to get them out of my mouth before they fell out of my head. So I got cast in what I thought was a decent part until they decided to invent a character that was the mother, and she got all my lines. So I had 2 lines for basically it was on until, she eats the thing that she swells up and turns into, is it blueberry, I think? Yeah, Violet, you're turning violet. God, long time since I've seen that. And that was it. I cried all the way home, cycling back to my parents, and never wanted to do it again. Dragged myself to performance. The moustache they stuck on me kept coming off, so people just laughed all the time. And didn't really do any acting till this year ever again. So to be honest, doing that pantomime was a bit of a making some peace with it. And then I went on to also perform in a serious play, Blood Brothers, play version, as the narrator in that. And that allowed me to kind of get stuck into my character then and properly perform it, did all the full rehearsals. And as the time of recording this, I'm also rehearsing to do another pantomime where we're doing Hansel and Gretel, where I'm Hansel, which is going to be interesting because a big 6'4" with a beard is going to be an interesting person to play a 12-year-old. I haven't quite got myself figured out around that. But that was something I was doing on the early part of the year. So juggling the podcast, I'd worked out all the timings and everything for the podcast, so I could have episodes recorded when I knew I was going to be really busy. But you do rehearsals till quite late, come home, and then I have to wake up at sort of just before 6 in the morning because I start work quite early. So once that was over, I had a bit of a look. It's like it was something that's interested to me really, and thinking about it, like I've been feeling quite tired going to work. I am an early riser, as I alluded to earlier on. I also struggle if I have to get up any earlier than 6 in the morning. So just even 5 minutes beforehand, which I can't have my alarm to get to work on time. And I'd be like sat in the middle of the day, by the middle of the afternoon, it's like, I am tired. I'm so tired. Trying not to fall asleep at the desk. That's not a good look when you get caught doing that. But I realised while I was doing the pantomime stuff, it's like, I had more energy than normal. I was like, well, what's going on here? And it's kind of interesting, isn't it, when you get into something that you're passionate about, how much more energy you have. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm passionate about work. I do a job I love, and I get involved in very, very cool projects like this concept car. But just hauling myself out of bed every morning. And I sort of started having listened to quite a lot of podcasts that sort of sit in the self-improvement, self-help genre and listen to books. I've done a few things to change stuff. I had cut caffeine out the year before. Not completely. I'll have it in fizzy drinks, which is a bit of a favourite of mine. But I don't have it in coffee anymore. I just drink decaf coffee, so even this is decaf. It was mainly because I was ill for a little while, and after a week being ill and couldn't stomach drinking any coffee, I was like, wow, I sleep better. Maybe I shouldn't drink the caffeine stuff anymore. And actually, if I end up ordering the wrong coffee from Starbucks at work and it's got caffeine in it, it feels like my face is about to melt. Now it's surprising the effect of it. So we kind of have done all that and, done all the sort of self-help stuff with sleep. And I've just not sleeping very well in the middle of the night, clicking over brains, all sorts of stuff. Doing too much, really. So I had the pantomime to go, which was a nice distraction from the fact that what I was doing normally was 40 hours a week at work, coming home and spending 4 or 5 hours doing podcast stuff, trying to practice guitar around it. Also spend some time with my partner, as well as other things, tidy the house. I'm a keen motorcyclist, so when the sun's out, ride a motorcycle at the weekend, rinse and repeat and go back to work. Now, as the year rolled on, I realised that I'm doing too much. So I tried to simplify stuff. So still performing in shows, and obviously I have to go to work. It keeps all the lights on. But I started having a look at what else could I do. Now, initially, did some things with changing how much water I drank during the day so you don't wake up in the middle of the night for a pee, which I'm sure young people will not understand. But I was listening to Andrew Huberman's podcast, Huberman Labs, and he was talking about water intake, and apparently the kidneys run more efficient and faster for the first 8 hours you're awake. So you need to get your 2 litres of water in a day and drink a lot of water earlier on in the day. And then the kidneys start to slow down as the evening rolls on and go to bed, which kind of makes sense. The body doesn't need to process water as fast when it's asleep, because if it did, you need to wake up and go to the toilet. But what we all do, and I'm terrible for it, is drink a lot of water in the evening, which means you've got this excess of water. So as long as you meet your hydration requirements and bump it a little bit more if you're drinking diuretics like coffee, tea, but try and get more water in early on the day. I have a half a litre bottle sat at my desk at work that gets filled at least twice a day, if not more. And then slow it right down. I swap to small glasses at the evening. So that kind of helps with, I guess, getting out and not having to get up in the middle of the night, which is annoying. Especially when, at points, I couldn't get back to sleep again. Which is weird, because as a kid, and I'd be interested to see if any listeners have any ideas on this, but as a kid, I'd always sleep well. I'd always sleep well into my 20s, 30s, Don't know what happened. Don't know what changed, but nowhere near as good as sleeper. But, brain would click over, and it's weird. I wouldn't even do anything particularly. I wake up the middle of the night, and I'm just awake rather than, hey, the brain going, I need to think about this thing, this and this thing. And, sometimes that happens when I had the big project on at work. There was things that were stressful about it, things that needed sorting out, people that needed convincing and influencing, and what happens when you have a major engineering project. And I'm used to that. I've been on major ones, and I've always worked at the sort of more the concept-y end of engineering or motorsport end of engineering. So I've always moved fast. It's something I actually kind of thrive on. But I don't have that too often. I did hear a quote by somebody. I think they were quoting the Dalai Lama and stuff. Like, if you're awake in the middle of the night, it's just more time to meditate. So try not to get grumpy about the fact that I'm awake in the middle of the night. So I started having a look at, I couldn't necessarily fix not going to sleep in the middle of the night and stuff, but apart from making sure I don't get up to go to the loo as often. But what else did it need to sort out? And one of the things was I looked at this podcast. Like, one of the things I realised with it is that I'm spending a lot of time doing the background kind of editing and stuff, which I think is important when you start as a podcast. It's certainly done a lot more to get rid of vocal tics and stuff I have, because you listen to your own voice so long during editing that you start to hear things you do. The classic one for me is so if you listen to an earlier episode, you'll hear a lot of so unless I edited them out. And that moves into my presentation style and things like this. Yes, there's a few ums and ahs I can hear me doing, but I'm doing this completely unscripted of whatever's on the top of my head and able to sort of clearly talk. And that purely comes from editing my own podcast and listening to my voices, which has the added benefit of you feeling more comfortable in your own voice. And you know exactly what your voice sounds like rather than what you think it sounds like. So there's never that odd thing when I hear something recorded and being like, that's what I sound like, or some people who don't like their own voice, which I think is a shame. I've never met anybody who's got a horrible voice. But I've done well over 80 episodes. Now, I realised I was tying myself up with doing all of that kind of technical stuff and not really getting involved in maybe doing some more of the promotion of the podcast and working through other things with it and just generally doing other things. I'd stopped going to the gym because I didn't have time or didn't want to get up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym because I'd just be even more exhausted now. Anybody who stopped working out for a while, and I spent nearly a decade lifting heavy weights in my late 20s, well to my late 30s, will know how things slide. And I do think that's a cascade into other things. You don't sleep as well because you're not exercising as much. You put weight on, which then helps not sleeping very well. You eat more bad food, which doesn't help the system at all, makes you feel more tired, lethargic, and the whole thing goes around in a circle. So I had for a while, had somebody in social media because I like the way that having a third party look at the social media not only gets more content out, but they find things that I don't. And it's really interesting. It's like, I never thought of that clip in there. And that sort of degree of separation really good. But I also then, and only in the last few months, moved over to having the podcast edited. And that's been a big relief. So what I've then done is taken a little bit of time to reassess what I'm doing at home as well. I'm going to start pushing on with bigger plans next year to keep the podcast growing and update a few things. But I've taken a few months to get back to the gym, start swimming again, have a bit more downtime in the evening. And that has helped a lot. Just having too much on, like, I could drop a few hobbies. I don't have to perform in shows, but I kind of enjoy it. And it's a nice break because you have to focus on that. And, learning lines and trying different characters and being on stage is a useful skill in terms of being able to be comfortable standing up and talking in front of other people, which I've done in other guises. I've done it as myself at places like Dyslexia show. I've had to present stuff to boards of companies before when I need sign off at work. But I think it's a great skill to have, is to be able to stand up in front of people and be comfortable with it. It was kind of interesting when I did the second show. You're nervous and you dreaded runs, and I walked out stage. It's like, okay, I've got this. I know the lines. I know what I need to do. I know how to interact with the people on stage. So I did that. And that has helped a lot doing all that stuff. I don't want to drop playing guitar because I actually find the guitar is a good mental shift away from things. But we also looked into other things I could do. And one of the things I hadn't realised till really quite recently is how much I'm affected by light, particularly during the night when I'm asleep. So I can't remember why I did it, but I had an old eye mask floating around, and I just chucked it on for a couple of nights. And I would sleep in for at least an hour more and wouldn't wake up in the middle of the night. My partner commented sometimes she works quite late. She's the complete opposite of me, and as a night owl and could work till 2 a.m. And she said I was not disturbed at all with an eye mask on as she came in the bedroom and got into bed and had used her phone to make sure she could navigate the bedroom floor. Where before, without an eye mask on, I was. And that really surprised me, just how much difference and how much better I slept with an eye mask on and without one. So if you are struggling with sleeping through the night or getting up a lot earlier than you really need to, try that. See what you think. And there's a couple of other things I've been working on. I'll say joining the gym's made a big difference. Funny thing, we've just come off the back a week where I've been really busy in the evening and not had a chance to go for a swim. Like I try and go twice a week if at the minimum. It's something I try and do from habit making, is that you set yourself a sort of simple, attainable target. So at this point, it's go swimming twice a week. And then once you've got that nailed, then build it up. So swimming twice a week will grow into going to lift some weights and getting in the gym a bit more often, but keep it simple. But this week, it's been really busy, so I've not had a chance to do it. And we're here on a Sunday morning, and I'm struggling to sleep as well as I had been the week before. So clearly something clicks in the body. So, after I finish recording this, I'm going to jump in the car and head to the pool. And just kind of simplifying things. One of the biggest things I noticed, really, and it's not really a simplified thing, I was pushing too hard at work to get too far too quickly. I'm, a fair way into my engineering career. And when I took this job, which would have been the beginning of 2023, it was a slight move into a different area. I've always done automotive, done motorcycles, I've done limited edition race cars, worked on for electric vehicle startups, but this moving into the sort of design studio and the creative studio had a different sort of process, worked for a major corporation and worked differently. Now, I've always found when I've been doing jobs that there's a bit of a ramp up into it, and it depends on whether the job is a shift over, so it's a similar role but for a different company, or this where it's a changing role. But if it's a changing role, it's like 18 months. But I think in my head, it was like, also another thing I had to learn was a different CAD package. So you got to learn a new CAD package, which when you do CAD all day long, picking up the efficiencies takes a while. So let's say 18 months is normally when I found in lots of other jobs where it's been quite new to me at the beginning, is when I go from having to chase the job, so to speak, to being ahead of it and being able to just flow through it and run with it and feel on top of it and comfortable and work for it. But I don't know why this job I felt like I needed to, and I never set myself this. I know how long it takes me to get on top of a job. But I was thinking I was pushing far too hard, looking back at hindsight, to get there quicker. And I have encouraging people around me. My bosses say, we're not expecting miracles. You're doing you're at where we expect you to be for the length of time you've worked with us. Continue your experience before and having to learn new packages. So I was definitely in a good place. I just was putting too much pressure on myself to be, ahead of it. I don't know why. It's just an internal thing. I think I come off the back of a previous job where I was well ahead of it to this one where I had to learn it. And I've gone past the 18-month point in the summer. And lo and behold, as if I know my own mind, I'm now on top of the job. I'm now more relaxed. I'm now comfortable. I understand not only the CAD packages, but the things you understand in terms of the nuances and the marginal gains and all the little bits and pieces on it that allow you to then be even further ahead. And you can just get stuff to do it faster. You become more efficient with the tools that are given to you, which gives you the headspace to be able to do other things. So you can turn stuff around a bit quicker and get it out and think about it. And it allows me to, and this I think actually thinking about it, dyslexic trait, having too many thoughts going at once, particularly when under pressure of learning a new job. That'll happen, all the creativity out and go nuts and all that kind of stuff. And actually you learn how to pare it down would be the wrong word, but efficiency it down and focus it and funnel it. Particularly when you're learning a new CAD software, it's like, well, I can do a million different things, and sometimes you try and force how the old CAD, another maker's CAD software works into this one, and they don't. They all are slightly different. Just to make stuff complicated when you want to change roles for a company used to a different package. I guess it's like swapping from iPhone to Android or BlackBerry to iPhone or something like that. And as you get experienced and skilled with it, you not only get to be able to produce decent CAD, but you just learn what it needs and how to get more out of it, how to set models up in a way that CAD package likes, so they're more flexible, you're able to make them more editable and work faster, as well as just understanding the company's systems and how everything works in that respect. So sometimes when you're in the middle of the storm, you forget, but it's remembering to stay the course. I'm getting positive feedback. I'm having regular one-to-ones, checking in that I'm on course. And actually, your own personal pressure can get you to places where it feels a lot more stressful than it really needs to be. I am fortunate enough to be able to be in a career that I really enjoy, and it suits my personality, my strengths. I have to lead people as well and manage people and working on that. But I'm in a creative engineering environment using visual stuff, and I use a lot of 3D thinking and visual skills matched to my experience to produce designs that hopefully the world likes. Now, I appreciate for some people that's quite I don't know if it's a good hack or not, that you just have to trust yourself, but you do learn stuff through work and times. And there has been points where I've just been playing in the wrong job. And there are other points where you sit there and you pick the job up super, super fast, because it's sort of something like, if I moved, say, from where I work now to another company that did design concepts and modelling, making with a CAD package, I would expect to be on top of it within a few months, because all I'd be learning is the company's internal systems, not the whole thing. But then there's the other itch in your head, like, oh my God, is this too easy? Have I picked a job that's... And it's funny how your mind has tricks in you, but nothing's ever easy, and I'm still learning all the time at work, and always will be. And if I stop learning, I will probably look at something else. But we'll see on that one, because I'm really, really enjoying it. Sometimes you can get lost in all the push to do other things, and the push to be brilliant, and the push to grow and whatever, to not look back and think, hang on, I actually have done quite a lot here. And it's a nice feeling. It's nice to know that actually things have been worked out successfully and have worked out well. And I think that kind of is where I am with it now. It's what I've been doing over the winter months, is just taking a step and having a look and doing some reflection. And then when the new year rolls around, we're going to look at what we can do with the podcast and bits and pieces to maybe push it to the next level. And I think with that thought, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you in 2025. Remember, if you do enjoy the show, to follow it on your favourite podcast platforms, and even put a review if you have time. That leaves me to thank you very much for listening, and I will speak to you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.